Let me talk to you about quarterback here for a moment. You've obviously written about this at DawgNation.com, and you've got, I think, more stuff coming in the days to come there as well in the aftermath of the Arch Manning news. It's certainly intriguing. I've said on the show that my read of the situation from UGA fans is they're a lot more interested in hearing, at least the best I can tell, in the future of guys like Carson Beck, Brock Vandagriff, Gunner Stockton than they are Julian Sayin, Jaden Davis, future recruits that might be coming in. What do you think is next for Georgia at quarterback? And I'm going to leave the question relatively broad, whether it be recruiting, whether it be development of guys who are currently here. What comes next now that Arch is going to Texas?
Yeah, I think you're right in pointing out and saying the things about the 2024 recruiting, quarterbacks, because Jaden Davis out of the Charlotte area, my understanding is he's been a longtime Georgia Bulldogs fan. Julian Sayin out of the California area, the number 2 ranked quarterback in this class. 2024 signing day is so far away that it makes it hard to really, there's going to be 2 full football seasons played between now and then, and to put that in perspective, there were 2 football seasons played. You have to go back to 2019. Jake Fromm was the quarterback of this program. James Coley was the offensive coordinator. Joe Burrow was still in college. The sort of time that is expected to elapse between that. So I think the big thing and I'm going to have a story on this later today, and I've sort of touched on it. I do think this puts a much more interesting, lens on Gunner Stockton, because let's remember this. When Gunner Stockton first committed to Georgia back in January of 2021, he was a 5-star quarterback prospect, the kind of guy that people thought was going to be this, I don't want to say Arch Manning type player, but clearly a very talented prospect. And then, Gunner Stockton did not sort of engage in the national quarterback industrial complex last year, didn't go do any of the Elite 11 stuff, didn't really go to these camps. And so because of that, tied in with the fact that he's playing in a lower classification in Georgia high school football and not really playing against elite guys on a week-in, week-out basis, his recruiting ranking drops, and he ends up finishing as the number 7 overall quarterback, I think number 124 overall quarterback prospect. And so, the bloom sort of has come off the rose of Gunner Stockton here, but with no Arch Manning on the way, and I'll be really interested to see what Georgia ends up doing at the quarterback position in this recruiting cycle, because as we sit here right now, if you're looking at the marquee list of names, I don't think Georgia's going to get one of the marquee high school recruits. Now, they can obviously flip someone, and odds are telling us in the past they probably will, but I do think that it puts a larger microscope on the development of Gunner Stockton, because I think just about every Georgia fan out there that thought Arch Manning was coming probably assumed that Arch Manning would leapfrog Gunner Stockton in the sort of, quarterback pecking order relatively quickly. That's not going to be the case anymore, and one of the things that I think this coaching staff loves the most about Gunner Stockton is he has the sort of right mental makeup you want to see of. He's going to be okay not pushing for starting time year 1, and being honest, probably even year 2, as Carson Beck and Brock Vandagriff are going to battle it out to be, I think, the starting quarterback going forward. But he's a guy who I think they're comfortable taking a longer development and knowing that he's going to stick around. And after this sort of Arch Manning news, and it looks like Georgia, strikeout might not be the proper word to describe their 2023 quarterback recruiting, but it's not going to end up being a guy as talented as Arch Manning. You have to take a longer-term view in your quarterback room now, and I think that's where having a guy in Gunner Stockton who is clearly going to be a long-term player at the University of Georgia ends up probably being a pretty good thing for this program.
I don't like trying to pretend to be a scout, because that's not what I am, and people should take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. But my biggest question about Gunner Stockton coming out of high school is, and this sounds crazy because he had so many passing stats, such a huge prolific passer during his career there at Raven County, working in a very effective offense. But to me, he's a little bit of a guy that is certainly very comfortable running when he gets himself into harm's way. He's very strong. He has a little bit of a Tim Tebow running style. And it's the kind of thing I think you just got to get out of your system moving to college. You cannot lower your shoulder. I mean, that's just a terrible idea against these SEC pass rushers who are kind of chasing you down. And so, my evaluation of Stockton, for the 2 cents that it's worth in terms of his ability to be a big-time quarterback at the next level, is how quickly can you shake off what worked well for you in high school, which was, hey, if you got into a little bit of trouble, you could always plow forward and getting a few rushing yards to keep a play alive or to avoid a sack or whatever else. And that style that seemed to work well for him at the high school level, to me, that's the first thing that's got to go as he transitions to to a college rank, and that's like the one thing that would probably slow me down on making any kind of big projection for him at the college level is of all the quarterbacks that Georgia has, of the film that I've seen, the style that Stockton was comfortable playing with is the one that I'm, I guess, the most curious about how well that would translate to the next level.
Yeah, and I think maybe a more apt comparison, and I'm comparing in terms of games, not in terms of personality here, would be like a Baker Mayfield type, a guy who clearly has some athleticism to him and is capable of running around a little bit against lesser competition, but then you put him out there on a field with SEC killers, and it very quickly becomes, oh, this guy's athleticism is a notch below the truly elite players out there. And I think, playing in a Todd Monken offense, what we've seen so far, a guy like Stetson Bennett, clearly a mobile guy, a guy able to move around and make plays with his legs when necessary. But I think under Todd Monken, we've seen more often than not, he wants to win with your quarterback's arm, because that's what you're really relying on a down-by-down basis there. And touching on it a second ago, I think with Gunner, again, they're going to have some time with him where there's not going to be a rush to put him out on the field, get him ready, and skip steps in his development there, because I do think both Brock Vandagriff and Carson Beck are so far ahead of where he is right now, which is to be expected. Brock Vandagriff didn't do a whole lot as a true freshman. Carson Beck obviously didn't do a whole lot there either. And so I think now what this Arch Manning sort of decision forces Georgia to do is it has to take a longer-term view at this quarterback position. I think right now as it stands, barring them going out and getting someone from the transfer portal, Stetson Bennett is going to finish it. And when I say transfer portal, I mean, a year from now. They're not doing it before this season.
Yeah, that's right.
Stetson Bennett's going to be your starting quarterback during the 2022 season. I expect him to start every single game for Georgia. And then going into 2023, I think Brock Vandagriff or Carson Beck are going to battle it out. And whoever wins that will probably have 2 years of starting eligibility. And then from there, you sort of figure out what the future of this quarterback position looks like, whether it be Gunner Stockton being that guy or someone in that 2024 recruiting class.
Let me